0 people currently in my stream. What are we gonna do today? Probably gonna play around a bit with promises, with yeah, probably just play a lot with promises and fetch today. I think that's kind of what we're gonna go over and get around with. Unless anyone has any other comments or questions or things they'd like to see, or kind of things from that. It's like a oh, that's like a sun. The sunlight's like hitting my thing. That's funny. That's really weird. Um, that's really weird. It's the sunlight hitting the thing just right. That's kind of weird. Okay, whatever. I feel like weird slashes on my thing, and like this is all like bugging out. Whoa. Okay, don't mess with the phone. Apparently, it like screws up everything. Uh, okay. So let's actually just get into it. No need to waste time. Um, let's see. So I've wrote a bunch of code already. I kind of want to go a little bit through this kind of line by line and talk a little bit about like what's actually going on and different ways of looking at getting like web resources and things. And also like at the same time playing with uh what you would call it playing with callbacks, as well. Um, okay, so we talked about this last time in class a little bit yesterday, but we'll get into this a little bit more of using this XLHTTP stuff. Actually, let me do like a simpler example. Here I just have a request kind of going out. I've created a new request. We're going to start with like XML HTTP request. I have a new XML HTTP request. Want to do some new things to it. Um, oh, it actually needs. Oh, it actually looks up for that. Okay, okay. And then that does the third one. Okay, okay. Actually, yeah, I don't want to do that, but I do want to do request listener inside of here. That's interesting. I hadn't realized I had done that 3 times. There you go. I'm an idiot. I had no idea I was playing around like that. We'll see. It's okay. We'll play around with this first. So, create a new OREC that we have going here. Created some new things for it. I've created an event listener so that when this actually loads, it's going to call this function request listener. I could also have defined a anonymous function inside of here. I could have just as easily, um, done something like, I don't know, uh, let's do something a little different. And I could have had like an arrow function here, like request and like, I don't know. Slug arrow space plus req dot text or no, let's just do response. I'm actually kind of curious what no, not response, right? It's what would it be? Oh, it's because it's its own stupid object. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Because it doesn't work the normal. That actually doesn't. The stupid thing doesn't actually call anything. So, and I actually can't use an arrow function inside of there. Isn't that funny? Um, because I'd probably want to use like this or something like that inside of it, but I can't. Um, I guess I can't play around like that like I thought I could. Where am I? Where am I? Okay, here we go. Okay. Yeah, that's not gonna work the way I thought it would. Well, I mean, we could try. I'm actually kind of curious what, if anything, actually happens. Um, we should just run this. And we also notice we have another separate thing here, but this is going to be undefined because it's not safe to use it. We can only use this request or anything else from that. Only makes sense in the context of this. Actually, let me not use an arrow function. Let me just use like a real stupid function. Let me do because function I can't use arrow functions because I typically want to use this, but I can't use this, of course, in arrow functions. It's not bounded to anything. So I could have dynamically bound it, actually, but I'm not going to because I'm an idiot. Console log this dot response. I misspelled response. I'm going to copy and paste response because apparently I can't spell. There we go. Doing a GET request, and we're going to send that off. So let's actually run that, see what happens. Okay, okay. Oh, okay, that was a lot. That was a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff is happening. Um, why is all that happening? Um, that's more than I was expecting. Uh, okay, that's a lot. So we got the response here. This equals nothing. It's not undefined though, which is interesting. It's just like literally like an empty string. There's like nothing there. And the thing runs immediately. Because this goes first. We do this load, but this load doesn't, this function here, we have this. Oh, I probably should have done something like, very, very elegant that I'm doing this here. Let's clear this and run this again. Ooh, that was actually a little slow. You notice that? Not like wasn't super fast. Where is the? Come here, all the way to the top. Okay. So we notice the order of events kind of going through here. Where this runs, we create this new object, we add an event listener, we open up the stream, we actually send it using XML HTTP request. And then we give it this callback function to basically do this when this is done, when this thing actually completes the thing. Now, XML HTTP response is a little different in that it actually, the object that it passes around and does things with actually carries all the attributes like the actual text, the response, the header files, et cetera, et cetera. It's not like it doesn't pass that through function like a callback argument. It doesn't pass it through like callback arguments. So because of this, I wanted to use the this operator because this would be bounded to this object because it comes from this instance. It comes from this OREC instance. So my this is bounded to this object here, this whole thing. It's the same thing as this. This dot response is exactly the same as this OREC response. They are equivalent. I could have written them both ways and that would have worked just fine. But you notice the one inside here worked, like here, this inside, blah, 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 whatever, and actually got what we expected. This one did not. This one was completely empty. There's nothing going on inside of there. We see the, did I misspell response again? No, that one's spelled correctly. We see the response. This is the response right over here. What we got going on. Oh, you can't really see my mouse when it moves. That's weird. No, like oh, okay, I guess it's like really small maybe. Yeah, okay. Hopefully you can see like how I underlined things. That's the response is the response here, you know what I mean, of what we're looking through. It's the same one over here. But notice it's empty. The OREC, that response, there's nothing inside of it. I'm kind of surprised. I thought it would have been undefined, but I guess not. I guess it is still an element in there. It's just like the empty string or something. Yeah, I would have kind of expected that to be undefined, but I guess it's not defined. I guess it literally is. It is already defined and initialized. It's just empty, and then this thing happens. So this happens first because our code just keeps moving on. It doesn't wait for this to finish. It doesn't wait for this OREC event listener to ever come back. That's why we have to call back in the first place. And this code just keeps marching down. It just keeps doing what it needs or what it wants to do. Oh, that's why I have this other stupid stuff here. Yeah, I don't know why I have like a second, like another thing inside of here. Let me kill this. I don't actually care for this. Okay. Let's just do like length because Well, that doesn't matter because that's not actually going to equal. Well, I mean, I'm kind of no. This shouldn't matter. Actually, I'm kind of curious what that is. And there. So now I'm going to clear. Oop, clear. Clear. Run. Response. Yep, the response is 0. It actually is. Yeah, it's the empty string. That's interesting. Yeah, this actually is defined and initialized. It's just completely empty because it hasn't been filled out yet. You know what I mean? It's never this OREC is the same as the this.response.length. They are absolutely equivalent. In fact, I could have just done. Let me show you. I could always do this. Clear that. Run. Yep. Exact same thing. See, it worked exact same way. I really should have put a space in there because the text doesn't really make, the numbers don't make a lot of sense. So it's exactly, it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. This refers to this object. I can directly name the object inside of there if I happen to know the name. In this case, I do know the name. But more often than not, we don't. You know what I mean? Or we want to have a more generic function that can work in any type of object, regardless of what the actual name is. So we see here this runs first, and the response is 0 because nothing has been finished with it yet. It immediately runs. And this callback function hasn't been called yet. It hasn't actually finished and completed. And that's why this happens kind of at the end. Once this all finishes and gets done, then this callback function gets called. And this is an anonymous function. I just fed it. And then all I'm doing inside of there is just printing what I got in the response, like what it actually get from the server, and how big with that thing I got from it was. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of this. If I were to instead comment this out, comment. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. There we go. My keyboard's a little touchy. If we were instead, use this request listener function that I've defined above, I can use that. I could just pass a function name. Now, there's a clear difference between this. This is actually calling a function. When I run this, I'm actually calling the function. I'm using it. You may be passing it parameters. In this case, I don't have any arguments I'm passing it because it doesn't accept any. There's a big difference between this and actually just listing the name of it. This refers to the function. This is just like grabbing the value of the function itself, like what is inside of it, just like passing a variable that has 32 or a string or an array inside of it. There's a difference between referencing that array and then like actually using it or grabbing like an element from it. Same thing here. There's a difference between like using a function. It's the same name. Oh, I'm sorry, God, I'm so yawny today. And then actually like referring to it and passing it. This is how I actually pass this function to it. So I'm saying instead of before on my onload, I want to pass this function and have it do something. So what is it going to do? Well, it's going to do a bunch of things. Response dot length. I want to do length because everything else is too big and stupid. I'm going to kill this. Oh, I know what I can do. Oh. Let's try this. I wonder if this should work. Yeah, there's no reason why this wouldn't work. Just to show you that like they are literally the same thing. I've created a new one, a new XMLX request. So that was carrying on. This one will not take place. The other thing here, this is happening in serial. This request will not take place until this other one has finished. So once this one has finished, then this request will get made. Only then. So we're waiting for one web page to load, then we're loading the second web page and grabbing the things from it. And then because I'm doing that, I need to give it a callback function. I give it a callback function called next, with a Z because we're cool. And now we have this second thing going through. I don't think I actually have access to why. This should be only, yeah, because it's a let. This would only be in a local scope. I almost guarantee this would be nothing. But let's try, actually. I'm kind of curious. If it blows up, then it blows up. Um, but like, unlike that example, like this is not going to work. Um, that's going to be empty. There should like be nothing inside of there. And then we're making like even a third request because we're crazy. Um, and then yeah, this last one shouldn't. That one actually shouldn't work, right? Because we're using this. Well, maybe it does work. I'm actually kind of curious to see if this actually does anything. It shouldn't, because it's an arrow function, but maybe it's something different going on. I don't know. I'll have to mess around with it. Um, Let me just put something in here like, okay. And let's clear this and we're gonna run this and see what happens. Yeah, reference error. You crashed. That's actually pretty funny. Yeah, because y isn't defined. It's undefined. So this y here is undefined. I have to use this because there is no way for me to get this y unless I somehow like passed it. Oh, no, I couldn't do that. I couldn't pass it a y, right? I'd have to like have it like in a global function or something stupid like that, you know. Because I'm using a let, it's only seen, it's only visible in this request listener scope. It's only this Y only works inside request listener. It doesn't exist anywhere else. Not in a global scope, not in any of the functions, even a function that I'm passing from this other function, even a function I'm calling downwards. Yeah, I'm actually not directly calling it downwards. If I call no, because I'm not passing it. Like if I were still to do something stupid like I don't know, just call next inside of here. No, actually, uh, oh yeah, that's right. I don't have a lot of time today, which is too bad. I might have to end my stream a little bit early because I actually have I have a 10:30 meeting that I forgot about, which I apologize. That's my fault. Um, I will have more of this later next week. Let's run this again. Let's clear this. Let's run this, and we get another error. Yeah, can't find property length of undefined. Yep, can't do that. This doesn't exist at all. So the second call of next also like does not work. See, that's why it doesn't work. This is from the this is from the callback, and this happens immediately because I immediately called next when request listener runs. This also doesn't make sense because this now no longer makes sense, not in the context of this. I wonder if I actually, if I killed this though, if I did this, I wonder that might actually work. Let me see. Run. Nope. Nope. That's not gonna work either. Like I thought. I wasn't imagining it would, but I was kind of curious. I'm pretty, yeah, because it's a let. It's not gonna go outside that function scope. So this does not work. We can't do that inside of here because this doesn't mean anything, and we can't use y because we don't have access to the scope of that variable. We can only, this is the thing where we need to use this if we want to talk about this response and kind of get things from it. Um, and oh, I don't want to do that. That'd actually be really, like I could recursively call itself and recursively call this thing again and again and again. Um, but that seems kind of dumb. Like I could inside this load, I could have this load equal like next, you know, and it would like recursively call itself and like spin loop forever. But don't do that. That's not a good idea. And then we have our last one here, our third page. So okay, our page, end of next. Immediately, see, we called this one actually worked. We get the end of next. Okay, this thing runs. We're still waiting for the callback on this, and now our third page actually works. So we can see all of our different responses. You know, response to 0, because inside of here, where is it? Um, because this doesn't equal anything yet, this runs immediately. This one actually does something. Our request listener goes up and actually prints off what this is. And because the OREC is defined in a global scope, I can use it in the local scope of this function and reference it just like I did before. That's why we have our two R pages here. That's where they come from. Our second page is the second response from our next. From the second call gets shown in next. Next does a third call. Immediately this end one runs because it doesn't wait. It just keeps going. And now we have a third kind of request, a third callback and a third request taking place. And that's the anonymous function I gave it. It's right here. All this stuff going through. Any questions, comments, concerns, issues and stuff with that? Like why and how this is working? I'm going to kill all of this. Okay. Okay. Killing all of this. Let's actually try to do some stuff with fetches instead. No, that doesn't actually, my listing doesn't actually do anything. Let me check this real quick. Yeah, okay, that isn't what I wanted it to be. Yeah, that's what I want. Oh, listen, no, that's exactly what I want. Yeah. No, I'm an idiot. That's I was 100% right. Okay. Um, okay. So clear this and run this. Cool. That actually works. So let's talk about this one instead. We're doing promises and fetches instead. So we're using fetch, which is the promise-based HTTP API for JavaScript. When we call fetch, immediately returns a promise. So this fetch, we give it some big URL, blah, 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 all this junk. Because this fetch immediately returns a promise, immediately returns that promise doesn't have the actual thing that we care about. Like it's not the thing that we want, but it will eventually become that. So we do a dot then to basically say like when this finishes, then do this. That's why it's called then. You'd be like when this is done, then this, then this, then this. And you kind of have like a chain of thens, like then do this, then do this, then do this. You can kind of have that, and as you kind of guaranteeing that order because you're actually chaining one to the other to the other to the other. So basically I'm saying when this fetch finishes and grabs the thing, then call this dynamic function that I just made up. I know my dynamic function, or I know my anonymous function. I know the function that fetch this promise is going to call that's in our request, then the response or the resolve that we call, like the resolve function it calls. It's going to have a SQL argument. I could have called that anything. It doesn't matter what the name of this is. I could have had this being 3 R's, Here we go. I could have done that. That's totally cool. So that's all fine. You know what I mean? I'm getting this thing so that works the same way. It doesn't matter what the name of it is. It's the first and only argument that this thing passes back. Now the weird thing with fetch is that your first response, or your first thing from the promise, isn't actually the data or the information that you want. You have to call another function, a method in that to then get another promise, dot then that promise, and then you have the data that you want. So inside of here, I do this fetch. When this is done, this function gets called. I'm showing you like a status thing here. So I'm saying like the status is 200 because that's one of the error. That's one of the response codes from from HTTP. So it means it's good. It worked. Everything worked fine. So I can get like this response object has like attributes that I can immediately look at and do stuff with. What it doesn't have is the actual data that I care about. That's inside another. I have to get another promise for this. Now this this dot JSON, that is an actual function. That's a method to this response object. And by calling it, it's immediately going to return itself a promise. And so I'm saying return the result. We're not just referencing this function. I'm actually calling this function. I'm saying whatever the result of this method is, return that result. I know the result of that is just going to be another promise that may turn into the actual data that I care about. And it does. So I have another. I have to do a second dot then. Once this is done, once this promise resolves, this function is this second dot then it gets run. We have another single argument. I'm just calling it Reddit JSON. I can call it anything. And now this is an actual JSON file, or this actual JSON object, which means it's just a normal JavaScript object. I could like look up anything inside of this. So if I look at the actual JSON file itself, looking through this, I can see like, oh, okay, this is an array. I can see this first attribute here tells me this is an array. This is the first object in that array, and it has all these different attributes. The kind is the one I just used. But it has another one called data that looks like it's another object with all this stuff inside of it. Where's something else? We're kind of close this. Children. Before, after this data object. Oh, it's just kind and data. Is what they have inside of this. This data has a mod hash. It has a dist. It's null. It has a bunch of children. I'm assuming these are like. Why is it not opening? Expand. Expand. Oh no. Seriously? Okay, well, that's not what I wanted, but, try reloading that. I bet my JSON reader is like all screwed up. Or it's just being really slow. There we go. It was just being really slow. Yeah, and I could kind of play around with it. I actually could access the things inside of there, and played around with what was going on. And now I have full access to all that data, all the information I care about. It's just a JSON file, which means it's just a JavaScript file and do other stuff like that as well. I can also put a dot catch at the end here as well. And this dot catch will catch if there was any error. If there was an error here or an error here. Oh, you can't see it. Like over here or in here. It will catch all of those. It's the last thing to be run. So if there's any error, it'll pass it all the way to the last call, this dot catch. And that catches only errors. Anywhere there was an issue, it would have said something. So if I did, I don't know. Let's make this up like, okay, that should go nowhere. There should be like not even a 404. There should be like a 500 or something like that. Let's actually create an error. Yep, looks like there was a problem. And this would be my error object and a bunch of things inside of it telling me like what that error was. So now I kind of forced an error to occur. And this dot, even though the error was in this first dot then, not the second dot then, this first dot then, the dot catch still caught any of the things. You can always have like your last argument, your last chain or last thing in your chain as a catch-all for like any type of things going on. So that's always available to you. What else? Let me go back to Reddit. I think that's all I have for now. I apologize for cutting my stream off short today. I forgot I have a 10:30 meeting that I actually need to make, so I'm gonna have to get off right now. But I'll go through more promise stuff, in particular using like promise.all and different ways of chaining promises. I'll kind of go through a stream of that next week, next Thursday. So definitely stay tuned for that. And this will also be uploaded soon as well. So sorry for the short stream today, but I will see you next time. If I don't see you in our next stream, I will hopefully see you on Monday. So have a good one, and I will catch you later. Bye.